Hey guys, we are Two Button Crew. My name is Scott,
And my name is Simeon.
and we're here to answer some questions for you guys.
Indeed, we are.
It's awesome to be a part of this cool mailbag video, so we're looking forward to see what you guys have asked.
Thank you for having us here.
All right, I think this one's a good one for you. Question number one comes from Happy Dog 664. Which Zelda game do you think I should play next? I've already played Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, Link to the Past, Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and the Minish Cap. So what game should I play next?
Well, I think that Twilight Princess is a good way to go. I really enjoyed Twilight Princess, but also one that I just finished that I recommend. It's a little tough to get into, maybe a little bit, but it's Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening was a fantastic little game.
It's like the redheaded stepchild.
It is. Like people don't talk about it too much anymore because it was on the Game Boy. They re-released it for the Game Boy Color, and that's the version that's on the
3DS.
On the 3DS. So go get that game. That game's a blast to play.
Like chain chops in it and stuff from Mario and different cameos. It's an exciting one.
Windfish in name only for Disney there.
Okay. All right. Question number two, also from Happy Dog 664. Which items do you think will come back to Zelda Wii U? So I think having just done a top Zelda items video on our own channel, you can pick one of our favorites that we'd like to come back to Zelda Wii U. I mean, the claw shot's a given.
Yeah, I think
that one's probably stuck in Zelda forever now.
I hope so.
Maybe the beetle. Like the beetle Skyward Sword is a new introduction of an item, and it is motion controlled, so I'm sure a lot of work went into that item, and they'd probably like to use it again. And the gamepad can be used to control it just as well as Wii Remote, I think. Anything else you'd like?
I think I'd like to see a return of the spinner. We talked about in our video how the spinner was really cool, but it wasn't used to its full potential.
Yeah.
So seeing the spinner come back and used well, I think would be great.
Absolutely. All right, you want to read our next one?
Yes, our next question comes from Aquia L. Why hasn't FYI or Girahim?
I think Fee.
Oh,
talking about the sword spirit from Skyward Sword.
Yes. Sorry.
You're good.
Pardon my ignorance. Why hasn't Fee or Girahim not appeared again? Wouldn't Girahim want to get revenge? And wouldn't Fee want to help the next hero to battle Demise's reincarnation?
I like this question because I think it takes some actual effort to try to see things from the perspective of characters. Like a lot of times when I'm playing video games, I'm just kind of in unwind and relaxation mode, and I just accept it for what it is. But to take a step back and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, including a video game character, I think is a cool concept. And yeah, I think if I was Girahim, I would want to attack Link and not just give up after one game, because to us, video game entries are video game entries. One can be as different from the next. But if you're a villain, then it doesn't mean anything to you that the credits have rolled. Like, you're still the same guy. So yeah, I think Girahim should make a return. Obviously, it becomes a little tricky with the timeline. Like when they create a new game, Skyward Sword was the first in the timeline. So they could have either A, used only characters that we've seen, or if they want to make it an interesting game, they have to introduce new characters, and then their absence is just unexplained, because they've already made the previous entries.
Right.
Anything to add on that?
Nope.
I mean, it's kind of a result of the timeline they've created. Okay, Foul Mage says, what do you prefer, 2D Zelda or 3D Zelda?
This one's a really tough one for me because my two favorite Zelda games right now are Majora's Mask and Link to the Past.
Okay.
And it's really tough to pick which one I like better. I think I like Majora's Mask better than Link to the Past, but I think that they both bring so much to the table. I think that previously the 2D Zelda games were done better than they are now. and the 3D Zelda games, I think, have remained consistently good. So, which one is better? I think if you look at the whole picture of all of them, I think you can look at the 3D games and say, for the most part, they've been stronger.
Yeah.
But the 2D games, I think that they definitely had some titles that were stronger than some of the 3D titles. So
yeah,
I think you can go either way.
What I like about the experience of playing Legend of Zelda game most, I think, is feeling like the hero and trying to get involved in the actions I'm making as a player and stuff. I like the cinematic aspects of a 3D game, and I find that it's more relatable, easier to get into, and just more epic when the action is like up close instead of kind of a detached above view. So I think the 2D games have a lot of merit for the great puzzles that they're able to create in that perspective and stuff. But just as far as the experience I'm looking for, I really enjoy the 3D titles.
That's good stuff.
Question number 7 comes from Jonathan, who asks, which races do you think will be present in Zelda Wii U? Example, Zoras and Gorons. Well, I think Zelda Wii U will be a celebration and a reboot of the entire Zelda series, much like Skyward Sword was a celebration and a prequel to the Zelda series for the 25th anniversary. So I think we'll see a lot of returning races such as the Zoras, Gorons, and other races we're familiar with. But I think a lot of the races first introduced in Skyward Sword, such as the Kikui, may also make an appearance. But the one race that I've been looking forward to in almost every Zelda game since Ocarina of Time are the Kokiri. And I know they sort of made an appearance in the Wind Waker as the Koroks, and it explained their evolution, much like the Zoras eventually evolved into the bird human-like creatures. But I think the Kokiri just have that mystery about them where they live close to the Lost Woods, which has also been featured in many other Zelda games, but not the Kokiri. And I think the two should go hand in hand, and it's just odd that they only appeared in that one game, and then they're mentioned in some of the others, and that's it. So I hope we get to see the return of the Kokiri and some of the characters introduced in Skyward Sword, maybe even some brand new characters introduced for the first time in Zelda Wii U. We may even see yet another evolution of the Zora, which started in Skyward Sword as the Flora tribe, and then eventually turned into the Zora, and then again eventually turned into the bird-like creatures from Wind Waker. Maybe they will have a fourth evolution like Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. Who knows? Question number 8 comes from Noah, who asks, what's your opinion on the theory regarding Girahim also being Link's sword from Majora's Mask? For those of you that don't know, spoiler alert, Girahim from Skyward Sword turns out to be the spirit that lives inside the imprisoned sword, sort of the opposite of the Master Sword in Fi or Phi, which we all know is the spirit that lives in the Master Sword, so it's sort of like the reverse of Fi and the Master Sword. In Majora's Mask, the final upgraded weapon that you get is the Gilded Sword, I believe. And it's a fun little theory. Termina, Majora's Mask, kind of being the opposite of Ocarina of Time and Hyrule, sort of parallel universes. So Girahim being the opposite of Fi or Phi, it sort of makes sense, especially when you add in that the visual pattern of the two are similar, to say the least. They both have the golden diamond patterns. But other than the art style being the same, I don't really think there's any connection there. The theory is fun and interesting to think about, but once you start thinking Majora's Mask came out back in 2000 and Skyward Sword came out in 2011 or 2012, I don't think they were coming up with plot points 10 years ago in a game they rushed and made in a year for a game that was going to come out a decade later and be an origin story for the entire series. I mean, they could work in something for Zelda Wii U that brings the whole thing full circle, but for this particular theory, I'm just going to have to say it is a coincidence and visual art style, and possibly one of the art directors or creators, artists, whatever you want to call him, that worked on Majora's Mask that was fond of that particular pattern also worked on Skyward Sword and reused the pattern in one of the enemies.